Lloyd, we always want to make our guests feel welcome. We want them to make them feel glad that they've made the decision to come on the air with us. And I don't know if that highlight montage is going to do it. Christian Cox, kind enough to join us as we kick off your Ute preview show. Steve Bartle's going to join us coming up a little bit later on. But Christian, man, it is good to hear your sweet tones of that great voice of yours. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Scotty G. It's good to hear your voice. It's been a minute. Life's pretty good. It's, like you said, having to hear a montage to kick off. I'm not so sure how I'm going to be rattled during this whole interview, but tough week for Utah fans. But at the home life, at the Cox house, life's pretty good.
Well, that's all that matters. Hey, but let's talk about this Utah game. Obviously, a wide range of emotions. You know what it's like to play in this rivalry. You know how heated it can get. And it was at DEFCON 1 in that game between these two teams. But kind of give us your thoughts on how this thing played out and how difficult it is as a player to rebound from a game like this.
Listen, I don't know how you rebound from the game. Having lost to TCU in 2010 after getting just blown out, eviscerated, just destroyed. We had to play the next game against Notre Dame. Our offense was fizzling at the end of the year, and we ended up losing to Notre Dame, lost back-to-back after we were undefeated. This one's a little different. I don't know how the team bounces back, but to switch gears, I was telling Lloyd on the post game, and obviously Alex Curry and Jeff and Hatch, we did a combined post game. The game at the stadium, I'd never felt a louder crowd in my entire time playing at Utah or having gone to any home game there. Maybe the USC game when Utah won in a 2-point conversion to win. It was a pandemonium at the end, but in terms of the game, it was unbelievable. Just the way the stadium was, the fans. There wasn't as many BYU fans. I think Utah fans just got a dose of some hopium that was in the second quarter after scoring 3 straight touchdowns. BYU had no answer on offense with touchdowns. They weren't moving the ball extremely well. And then kind of feeling the real pain of defeat where obviously, Mark Harlan and his comments after, where you had them backed up, you had them potentially, going down, and you allowed an official and you allowed a penalty to kind of get in the way, and you didn't make the stops following that play and let them get into field goal territory. It kind of was a perfect, I guess, capstone or reopening of the rivalry and conference together. But I'm talking about momentum that was just 21 straight points in the third quarter. The Utah actually had an offense for a second. You hadn't had one all year. And it was rocking. And to lose in that fashion, I think Utah fans kind of chalk it up to, well, that's how the whole season's gone, really. Like, you're in every game and you're barely losing because you can't score points. But I think it makes it worse considering that BYU was 5-7 last year, picked 13th in the conference this year. Kalani used to work for you, Utah. Aaron Roderick used to work for you, Utah. Jay Hill used to work for Utah. And now they're running the same schemes down south and having success and are undefeated and potentially going to a Big 12 championship where Utah fans, and I included, were saying, chalk it up to a waltz through the Big 12, and you couldn't have gotten a more taste of, a rude awakening and karma than you have this season with a lot of injuries. And it's a complicated season, especially with Kyle and where he's at in his career. And you don't want him to quit and be done. You want him to keep going because you want to see the legendary status, see what they can do in playoffs. And I think what's challenging about this year in aggregate is just the offense has just been so non-existent since Baylor third quarter on, and this Utah defense is really good. Special teams is below average. The offense has just been sputtering, and you got a glimpse of it for a quarter. Didn't put a full game together, and these players play with a lot of heart, and just a tough overall season in 2024 for the Utes.
How hard is it to maintain a cohesive locker room when there's such a discrepancy between your offense and your defense?
It's almost impossible, right? You want to play you want me to put a coach hat on and say, hey, like, we're staying together. I bet it's hard, right? It's got to be really difficult. In 2008, like, we weren't injured. I played second string. I didn't play a ton. I played in like 5 or 6 games. I backed up Paul Kruger and Koa. I wasn't going to see the field, but like on offense, Brian Johnson and the rest of the guys, Matt Asiata, Darrell Mack, Eddie White, Freddie Brown, Braden Godfrey, we were rarely injured the whole year. And I think that's what's so hard about the last 2 years is these are season-ending injuries. Like Brandon Rose out for the year, out for a practice. Everyone just seems Brand Keithy, like non-contact injury, out again for the rest of his career, basically. And so it's hard. If I'm being candid, I'm sorry if people are sick of these takes, but back to 2010, when I was saying is our offense was sputtering. Jordan Wynn had a phenomenal 2009 season. We walked into the season, Jordan, we just beat Cal. Go look at the stats. Jordan threw for 425 against a Pac-10 team. We beat Shane Vereen, who ended up playing with the Patriots and played with the Giants. Like, we had a good team. We beat Andy Ludwig, who was the OC. And in 2009, we thought, you know what? We had a decent team, right? We didn't live up to the Sugar Bowl expectations we had. But then 2010, we had a lot of returners. You had Devontae Christopher. You had Matt Asiata. You had Eddie White. You had a good offensive line. We started off 8-0. And then all of a sudden, we couldn't score anymore. And we weren't scoring on special teams like we did with Shaky Smithson earlier in the year. And Utah has been dealing with this. And I don't place blame on Isaac Wilson. I don't place blame on Brandon Rose. It's tough to force young guys into that role to be successful. But when we lost to Kellen Moore and Titus Young and Pettis and Doug Martin in the 2010 Vegas Bowl, we had 5 turnovers on defense. I think we scored maybe 17 points. So you just watched Jared Goff somehow get a win with 5 turnovers. We didn't score. We couldn't score. And as a defense, when you just keep saying you're doing your job, you keep doing your best, and the offense isn't scoring, it is hard. And I wasn't mad at Jordan Wynn. I wasn't mad at Terrence Kane. You win and lose as a team, but it's tough to keep going back out there, and you look at the scoreboard and it doesn't change. And then it starts to think, well, we've got to score.
Yeah.
We've got to come up with a pick six. And this year alone is the first year that Utah isn't getting the pick six. They're not getting the fumble and running it back for a touchdown, where historically in the rivalry games, you've always had a big play, a pick six. BYU beat you on special teams. 16 of the 22 points were from special teams, a kickoff return for a touchdown, 3 field goals. And you're just not winning in areas you've won in the past over the last 15 years. So it's got to be tough, Scott. It's got to be hard.
When you look at this as a former player, are you concerned about the trajectory of Utah, or do you feel like, hey, look, it was just a weird year, a lot of injuries, things happen, we're fine? Or is there a level of concern there with some of these, with you and some of these former players?
Yeah, here's what's interesting is I haven't seen a year like this, and I actually have loved Kyle's tone. He's like, this is the same coaching staff that's been successful. It's a strange slew of things put together, but if I'm really looking back to the issues, they start back at the Penn State injury, because you're like, okay, Cam Rising got hurt for the second straight year ending his season. The next year, you're betting on Cam, and so Bryson Barnes left the program this year because he wanted to be a starter. I think it was Nate Johnson who went to Vanderbilt, so you didn't retain any of that experience over the year, right? So you're a brand new quarterback. You're thrusting a really talented, really good quarterback in Isaac Wilson onto front stage too early, right? If you want to look at the Jordan Love and Green Bay experience, it seems to be working well if you give them years of time. Aaron Rodgers. And that's where it's going to buck his confidence, because he's going to be like, do I want to come back and play here, or do I want to transfer, right? Are they loyal to me, or are they going to the younger guy who's better? And that's the risk of you putting him as the backup. And in Utah at the top of the year, you're like, I will only use him if we have to. But the fact that there wasn't, I'd say, a better plan B, and maybe it was just, we're betting on our horse Cam Rising. He won't get injured. But his track record, it shows you that he hadn't really finished a year, but he'd also done 2 back-to-back Pac-12 championships, has been a great leader. But I think that's where you look at this season is there wasn't really a settled, better backup. in my opinion, at quarterback. And you win and lose by playing with the quarterback. And the old Utah model is you had to play great special teams and defense if you lacked quarterback. You play great defense, special teams has been average, offense is very poor, and it's been tough. And I'm sure Brant Keithy and Mekhi Bernard, who you're really high on, even Dorian Singer, you haven't had a guy who's just commanding the offense. And if you look back to all the great years of Utah's success, right? Alex Smith, Brian Johnson, Cam Rising, even Tyler Huntley. It was their latter years of their careers, their junior and senior years. It was experience, and there is no substitute for experience in college football. Why is Shedeur Sanders being successful? Well, it's his senior year, and he's been playing quarterback for a lot of years and under his dad's regime. And so I don't know. I don't have an answer. I personally, I'll go on record. I love Morgan Scalley. I love him to death. I know he's going to take the program forward. I don't want this story to end. I want to see Kyle go to the playoffs, and I hope he's still having fun, even though this year says he's not. But I don't want the book to end yet, and I don't want to end on this. And I'm not saying he is. That's not what I'm speculating. I just think that it's been a really tough year, the complete opposite of what you expected going into it. And you can see what BYU did after a 5-7 year. You get a quarterback that has some experience, and maybe that's Isaac next year. I don't know. But you get an experienced quarterback who's going to limit turnovers and can run your offense with a great defense on the other side, which you will get. That's really the missing puzzle piece to this organization. And you're now in a weird spot. Is that Isaac? Is that too much to expect of him to grow from true freshman to sophomore year? Probably, even though he's got a great pedigree and amazing parents and a great brother who's playing NFL. It's a really complicated issue, and I guess it didn't really get resolved last year, and it got weirder because Cam didn't play basically for the second straight year.
Is it sometimes just as simple as coming down to having continuity at quarterback? I mean, is football that simple where if you've got great quarterback play, chances are you combine that with Utah's defense and special teams that they'll be okay?
Yeah, I know it sounds layman. I know it sounds very
but I think you're right.
But if you look at all the successful Utah teams, the Tyler Huntley era, they came up short against Oregon and then had to go play in the, I don't know what, Texas Bowl, Alamo Bowl, and got blown out. Well, that year they would have gone and played in the playoff, right? So you would have, maybe the team would have felt a little different. You'll never get to know. I think that's what's hard about this year is there was just such high expectations, and you got a taste of the success in the SUU game 49-0. You got a taste of 23-0 by halftime, and then it is just insane to think that a balloon gets popped by a Gatorade outing on the left side. And I think it is. I really do. I think it is as simple as if you have a quarterback you can trust who can run the offense and limit turnovers and can make big plays with his feet at specific times, because that's what Utah's offense needs. You don't need a burner, but you need a guy who can make plays with his feet just to keep the defenses honest because they'll just pin their ears back. That's all of the Utah's success. But go look across the nation. It is so hard to get good quarterback play. Look in the NFL. Even Aaron Rodgers over with the Jets, they look abysmal. He was better with, Green Bay in the scheme. Karl Malone left the scheme and went to L.A. with the Lakers. They lost the championship. So I know I'm throwing off a lot of random things, but there is something to a program. There is something to continuity of the position. And Utah, Cam Rising time, we'll find out what he does, but it's tough because you're living in the past on a ghost. And he's still present, and he's a great kid, and he's done a lot for the program. And those moments against SC in the Pac-12 championship when his helmet got knocked off and when he scored the 2-point conversion and when he marched up and down against Florida on the road, the offense was humming 500-600 yards. And I think that's where Utah's frustration or fans is like, I experienced that. I saw it. I had it. And now it's gone. It may be gone forever. And you've got to start looking at who's the future. And Isaac looks like the future. It just looked like he got thrust into position too early. He needed a redshirt year. He needed some time on the field, and he would have been nails for next year. And now you're going to live in limbo in the offseason of, is he going to transfer? Is he going to do this? And only time will tell, because Andy was his guy. Andy was sticking with him. They made a change. And how you remedy it all, Scotty, is don't throw interceptions, score points, and go play well on the road against Colorado.
I know you got to take off here in the next few minutes, but just one final question. Do you think Kyle knows right now if he's coming back or not next year, or if he's shutting it down?
I don't. I thought he was going to be done a while ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think after they lost to Arizona, and I think this was 2015, 2016. It was kind of this weird time. I don't know. I'm like emotional as I even think about it. I know that sounds silly, but I don't want the story to end.
I know.
I think,
same.
I don't think he wants to be done. He's too big of a competitor. I think he wants to go to playoffs and show that the program he's built for 20 years as a head coach and 30 as a DC, that Utah can play on the biggest stages, because we've proven it with less talent, less depth, and the last year and 2 years, you've had some bad injuries at quarterback play. You've had some unforeseen injuries at tight end. I just feel for Brant Keithy. I really do. Gave his life to the team, came back, and, Dalton Kincaid's in the NFL, and he's not. And that might be his life. He may never get in.
Yeah.
And where he was ahead of Dalton. And so I hope he's not. I don't know, Scotty. He's a straight shooter, but I think only he knows. And I think if we're being real, I don't think he wants to be done. I think he wants to show that he's one of the top coaches in the country and wants to go do playoffs and win.
I think you're right. And from a selfish standpoint, I'd love to see him back for another year too. I just don't want it to see it end like this.
I want 3. I want 2 or 3. I love Morgan. I do. But I want 2 or 3 and then move it on.
Well, heck, I'd love him to stick around for Henry, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe Morgan or Jay Hill or Kalani, who knows?
There you go.
He doesn't like BYU, though. It was funny. He's like, I just don't like blue. I like red. And I didn't tell him.
There you go. Well, Christian, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for helping out today. Hope you're well, and if you need any help with that flag football team, just let me know. I got the playbook ready to go for you.
I'll get some plays from you, Scotty. You're the best.
You're the best, man. There he is, Christian Cox, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.